nonverbal until the age of 4.5, Timmy has two brothers and a mom and a dad who've always encouraged him to set his own expectations and not let disability define him. Placed in mainstream classrooms starting in kindergarten, school was always a huge struggle until high school. At that time, Timmy found areas where he could blend in, and no one saw his disability at first. The junior ROTC program and the track and cross-country teams brought out a competitive nature. The ability to belong and even rise to the top happened for Timmy. So Timmy's living an independent life, and as Ron mentioned earlier before we took a break for dinner, he wants families to know that if he can do this, others can too. So Ann and I, Ann Balogh, Timmy's mom, is here as well, and Timmy, you and I have known each other for a while. Ann and I served on our board of directors for a number of years, and Timmy, you were a young guy at that time, and would be involved with us, but a lot of times playing on different equipment and the different handheld games and smartphone and things like that. And I did not realize, you know, as Ann and I lost touch for a bit and then recently ran into each other, just what was happening in your life. And it stood out to me as we think about our 5-year plan goals and objectives of financial and asset development and gaining more financial independence and community living and community choices and relationships that go with that, as well as a voice and being a leader, even if it's a quiet leader. And what struck me was, and this doesn't happen very often, Timmy, you had access to our Home and Community Waiver. You had an innovation slot, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And went on through school, community college, got a job, and did what most people would be very afraid to do, and that's let that slot go. And that's pretty powerful. But it also speaks to opportunity, and it speaks to leadership. So we'd like to have you talk a little bit about your story. And you'll notice behind me some pictures that will, hopefully you're okay with these, but they're going to show you growing up. And I think that'll rotate behind us as you speak with us tonight. So we're really pleased to have you. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Balogh. Most people call me Timmy. I want to thank Mr. Egan for inviting me to come and talk with you about my experiences and has been growing up with autism and sensory issues. And being able to get into this point in my life where I made the choice to give up my cash spot. I guess it is now called a innovations waiver. I don't remember a lot of the day-to-day details of what I was when I was very little. My mom helped me fill in those gaps. I am the third son of my parents, the only one born in North Carolina. My brothers were 12 and 9 when I was born. They were in school all day, and my mom and I had a lot of time to get to know each other. Apparently, I was very different than my brothers right from the start. I've been told that I did a lot of screaming, not regular crying, but screaming. I guess I showed a lot of symptoms of autism right from the start. My parents thought that maybe I was deaf or hard of hearing because I never turned my head when they say my name or make loud noises. I watched the same Disney videos over and over, even when my mom or brothers would turn the volume off. I didn't play with toys, but I would line them up in very long lines and would get really upset if anyone moved or put them away. I did not like people to read books to me, but I would like to turn the pages of every encyclopedia on the bookshelf, one by one, very slowly and carefully. Some of the other things that I did were walking on my tiptoes, climbing, jumping off of things, like window sills and hiding pieces of furniture. I like squeezing myself into small spaces like behind the couch or climbing into the clothes dryers, which I'm sure my mom's already put on pictures. I spent a lot of my time under chairs rather than on top of them. I did not like to be bathed, have my hair washed or cut, my ears cleaned, wear hats. Basically, I couldn't tolerate having my head touched. One of my brothers would have to get into the bathtub with me because I would be fighting so hard to get out of the water that my mom couldn't hold on to me by herself. I also had severe reactions to being placed on my back for a diaper change. My mom said that I could rotate on my head while arching my back, screaming and trying to flip over. Every single time it was time for me to change a diaper. I guess I threw tantrums or had meltdowns many, many times a day that made things hard for all of us. I did not develop speech like kids usually would do. I jabbered and had like my own language, but no one could understand me, and I was very frustrated for all of us. When I would get frustrated, I would fall to the floor and bang my head over and over, which pretty much freaked my mom out, but I didn't feel any pain from doing it. I didn't feel pain then I'd bump into doorways or fall off of things. I didn't cry over things that you'd expect a kid to cry at because he got hurt. I had a lot of bruises and bumps that I never reacted to. Some of the other things that I had a hard time with were riding in car. Unfortunately, because we lived 15 miles from the nearest grocery store, I had to be put into a car to get places a lot. I had been told that the car screen was the worst. That makes sense. I would also scream, then taken into the grocery store. My mom says that more than once people would tell her that I needed to get out of there. I don't remember why I didn't like the stores. And it could have been like the lights and smells. Most likely, probably smells. My brothers figured out that if they put me in one of the buggies and pushed me really fast and up and down the aisles, that my mom could quickly put actual groceries into other carts so they could feed everyone for a week. Eating was actually an issue for me too, starting from when I was a toddler. I did okay with infant baby food, but when they switched me to table foods and junior foods, I didn't or couldn't eat much of anything. I guess for about 2 years I lived off of instant oatmeal, scrambled eggs, and the occasional grilled cheese sandwich. To this day, my food choices are very limited. I eat no pasta, no rice, no soups, no sauces or gravy, no ketchup, mustard, mayo, no mashed potatoes, no salads, no vegetables, and the occasional apple. I never liked sandwiches without eating peanut butter. Wouldn't eat peanut butter jelly, and was really just difficult to pack lunch for. As I got older, I was introduced to pizza, and that became my favorite food. I eventually started to eat chicken nuggets, but only from Wendy's. My mom had to put chicken nuggets into Wendy's containers rather than Wendy's, or I wouldn't eat them. My dad likes to grill out, and he discovered that they cooked anything on the grill as long as they didn't call it anything but meat, I would eat it. I get a lot of my protein because my diet consists mostly of meat. I also take vitamin supplements. My brothers were involved with after-school sports and music lessons, so that meant that my mom took me everywhere they needed to take my brothers. She never got to watch much of their games or races because she would be chasing me or keeping track of me. I really like to run away from people and crowds. Who knew back then that I would earn a state championship ring for running track? I almost had it. When my brothers would have music recitals, one of them would sit in the band with me and my mother could watch the other perform. Then they would switch so she could see the other one. She would video their events for my dad because he was away working. I could not go into concert halls or churches very often because of the sound of music was very painful to me for a long time. My family was just very used to my behaviors, and our life seemed to take a little more planning than my brother's friends' families. It was during one of the hurricanes, Bertha, in 1996, when I was 20 months old, that someone from outside had an opportunity to observe me and my issues more than just a 5-minute doctor's appointment. My mom evacuated with us to stay with a friend that actually been my pediatrician up until I was 4 months old. She had a lot of concerns and was the first person to say the A word to my mom. She referred my mom to get my hearing tested to rule out hearing loss. The hospital referred us to Lower Cape Fear Hearing Clinic, and they referred us to DEC and Teach. The other things happened during that time that brought my family to the attention of the county health department, and they also started making referrals after making a home visit. The good news was that I was entered into the system from both sides and got my formal evaluation pretty quickly. The diagnosis came just as I was turning 2, so I was qualified to get therapies from early intervention program. I started OT and speech immediately and then started at the Child Development Center when I was 2 and 5 months old. My parents applied a CAP waiver slot for me when I was 2, and I was awarded one when I was 4. My mom says that because of getting this CAP slot, I was able to get help that she couldn't give me to help me learn how to deal with the environment and people and expose me to experiences that have helped me to overcome so many of my challenges. My very first worker was named Robin, and even though I could not talk, she took the time to be able to figure out what I was trying to communicate. She took me to places that made me scream and helped me learn to tolerate those places in small blocks of time. Robin became a lifeline for our family. She really only stayed for about 8 months, but during that time I became able to go to grocery stores. She and my entire family did the repetitive OT exercises that the therapist taught them to help reduce my discomforts. They brushed me, bounced me on a huge ball, encouraged me to climb and jump and swing in appropriate places. They did the speech building exercises that the speech therapist used, and by the time I was 4 and a half, I could finally be able to call my mother Mommy. I could also repeat movie dialogue and books that I had been read to, but I had trouble coming up with my regular speech for several years. We used a picture exchange system for a long time. I mostly knew what I wanted, I just had trouble learning or finding the words. I very often would rewind videotapes back over parts I liked 3 times, or would have people repeat things to me 3 times before I could move on. Mostly because it's probably funny. I guess because by the 3rd time of hearing something, I could understand it, or the other thing I just said. I had many inclusion specialists work with me after Robin. Some were very, very good, and some were not so good. It was difficult to have to get used to new workers. It was hard for my parents to trust new people, especially since I couldn't really talk. My mom did a lot of spying to be sure that I was being taken care of, that they were paying attention to me rather than their girlfriends or boyfriends. Some workers didn't pass and would be replaced with someone new. I have to say the good ones were always hard to lose. I would get very attached and enjoy the time that we did things and did not understand when someone was leaving because they were graduating from college or moving or getting married. The service provider companies wouldn't allow the workers to give much of a notice to the families, and the abrupt way that some of them would have to announce after a fun afternoon that they would never be coming back was confusing and basically made it harder for me to find the next person. So public school. Public school was very unhappy, an unhappy place for me to have to spend some of my time, or most of my time. I was lucky enough to be able to stay at the Child Development Center until I was almost 6. There I was in very small classes with other kids who all had some form of autism or Rett syndrome. Very few were verbal. I made a friend, Michael, and he talked a lot. He had Asperger's. We did a lot of things outside of school, visited each other's houses, went to see movies, and had sleepovers. When I started kindergarten, it was very overwhelming. The classroom was bigger, there were more kids, and everything was just loud. I had a difficult time adjusting with 12 or 15 words that I could regularly say. None of them I could describe my parents how miserable I was. I remember trying to fit in, but without the verbal supports that I'm used to, I felt like I was always trying to figure out what they wanted me to do. I had good OT therapists and speech teachers that I saw several times a week. They would make things fun, but the classroom time was pretty much a waste because there was no one to do any one-on-one to help me learn what the other kids were learning. It was pretty frustrating. The other kids were not so nice, except for a few. I was teased a lot, got called names, and spent a lot of time by myself. When I get home from school, I did have one friend that lived 2 houses over. He was 2 years younger than me. Riley and I were great friends, and because of him and my CAP workers, I managed to make it through elementary school. I wasn't learning at the same rate as my classmates, and even though my mother had a lot of help getting me good IEPs written for each grade level, they just weren't following them. I sat quiet to not draw attention to myself and got further and further behind. My case managers for the CAP program became very important to my success. One helped start a therapeutic horseback riding program when I was 4. There wasn't one in the Wilmington area, so my mom and her started one. I haven't been there in a very long time, but the program is still running today. My case manager cared enough about me to help that program become a reality for many, many children and adults. The last case manager was with me for 3rd grade through my high school senior year. She spoke to me like I had the same matter. She was interested in what I was good at and not just in what I had trouble with. It was good to know that I had a friendly adult in my life. Because I had the CAP slot, I was also able to regularly go to see a child psychologist that specializes in autism. These appointments were important because I had someone to talk to about how I felt about school and the things people would say or do to me. She helped me understand that, for the most part, I was not the one with a problem. She taught me coping skills and that it was okay to speak up when I was not comfortable. Middle school was the worst time of my life, and I'm glad I don't have to go there ever again. By the time I was in 8th grade, it got harder and harder to get CAP workers to drive all the way to Burgaw. I was also less interested in spending time with someone who was probably not going to stick around for very long. I had a few friends that would come over and we'd do regular kid stuff. Played a lot of video games, ate a lot of pizza, and went to movies. It got harder for me to explain why sometimes I had to spend time with college students. My grades were still not very good and school was frustrating for me. But my mother kept telling me that I didn't need to feel bad about not getting good grades because I knew I was smart and she knew I was smart. And that what other people thought didn't matter. No matter how things were going, my family always treated me like a regular kid. They talked about autism, but did not let it be used as an excuse to try things I was not comfortable with. When I decided that I wanted to be a Marine, my family didn't say that I couldn't do it. They said I could plan for it, but that I had to plan for plan B. It was pretty clear that I would be expected to get enough of an education to be able to either go into the military or get a job to support myself. In high school, my mother decided that it was too late to accept that teachers would try to get me caught up to the grade level, so she decided that I should spend most of my time being social as I could before I leave the school environment. She put me into a school outside of my district to give me a fresh start with kids that didn't already know and torment me. I wanted to be in the JRTC program because I wanted to get a start on my military career. My colonel, my sergeant, and other cadets made me feel like I was there where I belonged. I loved it. I was good at taking orders. I did really good with the PT training, and the competitions and sleepaway camps were the most fun. In January of my senior year, I was appointed to be the lieutenant colonel when the other student graduated early. I was very proud that my hard work and dedication was recognized. I was also encouraged to join the track team. At first, I was not thrilled of the idea, but I knew some of the kids from JRTC ran track and decided to give it a try. I ended up liking the 2-mile the best and ran that as well as the 1 mile and the 4x8 relay, at just about every meet, usually placing first or second. In my junior year in 2013, our team won a state championship, and I was one of about 9 kids that actually traveled to Raleigh and competed. Being part of the track team in JRTC made Kids recognized me and talked to me in the halls or between classes. I knew I had friends from every grade level. I was treated like just one of the guys and not singled out and treated differently because of my autism. Having friends that would talk about their plans for the future helped me to really think about my future. In 12th grade, vocational rehab got involved as part of my OccuPrep program. That was pretty much a disappointment. That lady actually said that I should be happy to work emptying trash cans at Camp Lejeune because I have autism. I had to leave. I understand my mom gave her a piece of her mind. and yes, she did. We did start really concentrating on a plan B after that. I passed the requirements to get an OccuPrep diploma at graduation, but with only a 3rd grade reading level, it was pretty obvious that I was going to have a lot of work to do to get where I want to be. It took me almost 5 years to get my learner's permit to drive, not because I wouldn't be a good driver, but because I had trouble reading the test. I spent a lot of time going over those tests with my CAP workers. I knew the stuff, but the tests killed me every time. Finally, I got lucky and got my prize. After about 4 months with my permit, I got my driver's license. I've been driving for almost 2 years. What do I want for my future? I want to be in charge of my own life. I appreciate all the support that having a CAP slot provided me, but as an adult, I don't want to go to 3 different people to get permission to do things. I am working a full-time job that provides me with insurance benefits. I rent an apartment from my brother and pay all my own bills. I am involved in MMA training several nights a week. That's my plan B since the military did not work out. I have a social life, friends that come over. I'm dating a terrific girl, and things are pretty good. I work with a tutor from the Cape Fear Literacy Council 2 times a week for the last 1.5 years, and my goal is to get my reading and math score up so I can earn a regular high school diploma from Cape Fear Community College. I am already improving to a 7th grade level in reading, and I am enjoying the math. The CAP waiver changed my life for the better. There's no doubt about that. But the need for those intensive supports is just not there for me anymore, and it's time for another person to get a chance at the help that they'll need. I know that the amount of funding for the programs that help me keeps getting cut, but I hope that the legislators would look at me and see that it's money well spent. It gave me a chance for a future, and I am now a productive tax-paying citizen, and I couldn't be any happier.
What a story. What a story. Timmy, congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing that story with us. It's amazing, you know? It's a story of what we're here for. I think it's a story of high expectations, family involvement, family commitment, the value of services if they're applied correctly at the right time, in the right place, what they can do, how important they are. So it's a great story. I wish we had another little award here because I'd like to give a award right now. But we really appreciate it, Timmy. I think you are an outstanding example for what we're about, what we need to do, and what people can do with self-determination and self-confidence to achieve. He said early on he couldn't find words. Well, I think he found some words tonight, don't you? I think you made up for whatever you missed in when you were 3 or 4. Right? Thank you, Timmy. Well, that's great. Good story. But it shouldn't be a unique story. Right? It should be the story. And that's why we're here. And thank you for the example.